normally RBI does 20,000, 30,000, 40,000 crores.
In a normal year?
Normal year, maybe 50,000 crores.
Okay.
Last year was 7 lakh crores.
7 lakh crores?
7 lakh crores.
That is purely because of all these freebies that the states are pushing.
Mostly.
It is basically a ticking time bomb. But it is also linked to the weakening of rupee.
Yes.
So we are again promising NRIs to bring more money into the system.
You know how much they have already brought in? $45 billion.
45
And
billion.
it's likely to be $80 billion. The scheme is on till September. If you have an uncle, NRI uncle, you should tell them to bring money to India. The last year money printing and on the rupee is adding risk which will show up later.
How much late it will show up?
This will be 1 or 2 years. So
wouldn't that be closer to election? So why is the government not seeing that?
I don't know.
So ये दो बड़े time bomb हैं.
Reduce capital gain tax. It's a very big factor.
Namaste sir, how are you?
All good.
Welcome
Seeing you
back.
After a long time.
Yes, because we only meet to discuss very, very important issues. And today also you have a very important thing to say. And there are some ticking time bombs in the Indian economy that may prove very disastrous in the next 2-3 years down the line. And so that's I wanted to discuss because nobody else is talking about this. So can you elaborate what is happening on that RBI side? What is happening on the rupee side? Because that is also related.
I think people, if they look at our podcast before, they will think that we always complain. You know, whatever RBI does, we complain. So we should give us some background.
Yes.
That way RBI was, like immediately post-COVID, we had a high inflation, food inflation, driven by food inflation. That time, RBI kept interest rates very high. And we were complaining that interest rates are too high. That was a complaint. Now we are on the other side. So what has happened now is that one important thing that has changed. All state governments, and it's not central government, you have to be very careful. You know, of course, I'm not saying central government is blameless or anything. All state governments now are giving freebies, as you know. And they are spending more than their taxes, you know, whatever they get from the center and what they collect. Now, if they spend more, obviously, what is the option? They have to borrow. Now, when they borrow, usually, if they borrow from markets, like banks, and banks is like you and me, what should happen? Interest rate should go up. If you let interest rates go up, what will happen is, of course, your growth will slow down in the short run because cost of capital will increase, investments will slow down, growth will slow down.
Last time also, because we said, you know, interest rate should come down.
Exactly.
When we were discussing it 2-3 years back also.
Yes.
That interest rates are too high, and this is why the cost of doing business is very high. That's why growth is not happening at the level that that it should happen.
Exactly.
And we were asking RBI to please, you know, cut down the interest rates.
Yes.
And now it's completely different thing.
Yes. The thing is, circumstances have changed. So this was 22, 23, those time where this freebie business was not very popular. 1 or 2 states had started. Now it's become a compulsory thing. You know, both the parties in any state election will announce. It's only a matter of who announces 500 rupees more. You know, that's the only thing. Which means all state governments will run revenue deficits. Only states which are not running are those whose election cycle is not yet over. For example, Uttar Pradesh. Once election cycle is over, you will see what the numbers are going to be. So now they are borrowing. Now, when the state government starts borrowing, usually in our textbook we say state governments cannot print money. Yes, they cannot print money. When they borrow, if RBI should not fund them. So what is now, that is a variable that has changed. When state governments comes and borrows and not for investment, they are borrowing for what? They are borrowing from this distribution. Interest rate should go up then.
So what is happening here? What are states doing? What is RBI doing?
Yes, states come and borrow. So in the markets, if RBI had not done anything, what will happen when there is a big borrower? Interest rates will go up. When there is a big buyer for mangoes, what will happen to mango price? Mango price will go up. Interest rate would have gone up naturally. All that I'm saying is RBI should not control that interest rate. Whatever demand and supply is. Earlier, RBI deliberately kept interest rates high by, you know, sucking money out of the system.
Under Shaktikanta Das.
Yes. So they were sucking money out of the system. So that was deliberately high. Now, what interest rate will be high on its own because state governments are borrowing. What RBI is doing is supplying money last year, 7 lakh crores. These are
7 lakh crores.
Yes. So this is called, there is a sophisticated word. It's not called money printing. It's called open market operations.
Okay.
Normally, RBI does 20,000, 30,000, 40,000 crores is what they do usually.
In a normal year.
Normal year, maybe 50,000 crores.
Okay.
Last year was 7 lakh crores.
7 lakh crores?
7 lakh crores, yes.
So wouldn't that lead to massive inflation in the country?
Not immediately, because it doesn't lead to lending. As we saw in the US after quantitative easing, US brought in from around, if I recall correctly, around 4 trillion to 7-8 trillion. After the crisis. But banks did not lend. If banks don't lend, it will not, money doesn't circulate in the system. It doesn't create inflation. So here it depends on how much banks will lend, because what RBI gives is called reserve money into banks. Now it depends how much, in an extreme, banks can lend 30 times of this. It can create massive money supply in the system, but they don't lend as much. So it won't happen immediately. It has a potential to create inflation. But having said that, it kept interest rates artificially lower, from 6.5%. We brought interest rate to 5.25. So that 6.5%, again, you should not, of course, you can claim it's hypocrisy. 6.5% was wrong in 22-23. But 6.5% is right now because of these extra borrowing.
But this is not hypocrisy, this is economics.
It's economics. Yeah, people don't get it.
Conditions change, so you have to change with that.
Yes, because that time this extra borrower was not there.
Otherwise, and this whole money supply that is increasing basically, essentially, 7 lakh crores of extra printing, kind of printing is coming into the system. That is purely because of all these freebies that the states are pushing.
Mostly, not purely, mostly. But I have to explain the economics a little bit more to your viewers. Imagine when borrowings is some 10 rupees, okay, and you are there are two savers. I am one saver and you are another saver. I am willing to finance these savings at 5% interest. So as long as you're borrowing 10 rupees, interest rate will be 5%. Let's say you are somebody who is different, who you care a lot about today's consumption. Let's say you are younger and you care more about consumption. For you to save, I have to offer 7%. Not 5%. So when you borrow 20 rupees, interest rate will not be 5% because you go up the supply curve. I have to take it from you. And once you give 7% to you, you have to give me 7% to me also. Right? I may be willing to buy mangoes at 50 rupees, but if you get it at 30 rupees, I will also ask for 30 rupees. That's called marginal. Marginal investor matters. In economics, price is determined by the last guy who buys, not the best guy or the average guy. So when extra borrowings came into the market, instead of 10 rupees, when borrowing rupees 20 rupees, who will finance it? You will have to finance it. But you are not inclined to save. You want to consume. How will I incentivize you to save? By offering higher interest rate. So this is natural. RBI should have let this happen. Obviously, when interest rate go up, investments will go down, economy will suffer and all that. Instead, what they did, they brought in the 10 rupees of extra money into the system. Now, money without goods and services, in the short run, it doesn't increase prices because prices are rigid. Contracts are already signed. Your rent is already signed. Your school fees is already signed. Prices don't change instantly. There are a lot of prices which don't change instantly. So even when more money comes in, it helps by creating growth because same price, more money, there is more demand, economic activity improves. But at some point in time, when prices change, prices will change much more. And this was the history of India. This is why we used to have 10%, 15% inflation. And this was mostly driven by central government. Now this is a combination of state governments and RBI, which created this situation. And state governments of all parties, I must tell you. I am not talking about any particular party here. All parties are doing
could
this.
RBI have refused it?
Of course.
We want to give you 7 lakh
Shaktikant Das did it. Shaktikant Das did it to the other extreme, no? Not only he not printed money.
No, I'm saying that, for example, they released 7 lakh crores in open market operations. They could have not
done it. In that
then what would have been the
interest
case?
Interest rates would have gone up.
Okay.
The market interest rates would have gone up. And they would, the interest rate would be higher. They will have to hike. See, increasing.
Then the cost of business increases, then the growth
would have slowed down. Of course, growth would have slowed down. Now what you've done is artificially supported growth for a year or two. Now
so this 7 lakh crores may have financed, for example, only 1 year of freebies, right?
Yes. So
then what are they doing now? How they are getting more money now?
This year we'll see. This year again,
we don't know.
We don't know where it will go. So next year, we don't need 7 lakh crores for freebies. It's not that bad. We haven't gone there because these are 20,000 crore, 30,000 crore kind of thing. And
but across states will be like in lakhs of crores.
Uttar Pradesh comes in and when all states, because now what has happened with freebies, it's become indexed. From 2,000 rupees, now it's become 3,000 rupees, 2,500. In some, when Karnataka started, it was 2,000. Telangana, it became 2,500. Now the going rate is 3,000. So it is not, these people are very clever. It's
But
indexed
this
to
is
inflation.
crazy.
Yes. So now imagine in 2029 if central government announces.
Yeah.
If central
I think
government
end of
announces,
India's story.
it's not end. It will create problems. People will learn, but it will create problems. I'm sure central government will have to do it. They will. My guess is 24.
Where will the money come from?
Print?
One thing that the BJP, this government, Modi government has done, and
Yes.
it has learned from the
Yes.
UPA's mistakes, that no matter how high the unemployment rate is, no matter how many problems the government is facing, at the end of the day, the middle class and the the urban people, they will not, and the middle class definitely will not forgive you if there is high inflation.
Exactly.
And that is good lesson they learned from UPA's mistakes.
Yes. And inflation becomes sticky. The problem is once inflation comes in, it won't go away that easily. The single most achievement, if you ask me, what is the biggest achievement of this government? Fiscal discipline. And keeping inflation tight. Our inflation used to be average 8, 9, 10%. Now we have never crossed 6, 6.5%. One quarter here and there, 7% in the last 10 years. We've never crossed. It's not that world had inflation. Remember, post-COVID, US went to 9%. We did not go to 9%.
Because they did the same kind of extra printing.
Yes,
and all
exactly. India did not do that. That's a single... We took cost during COVID. Now you're telling me not taking cost now. During COVID, there was a case for money printing. There was a case. Even someone like me would have been sympathetic if you print money during COVID. And I would have said, let's take inflation later because now it's a question of survival. We didn't do it. We took all the costs during COVID. And that is why we came out pretty stable. And we took it to other extreme where we kept interest rates high, currency high, our exports collapsed. But at least the macro stability remained. Now we are giving up on those.
And it's not happening at the center level yet.
So far. Yes.
So it's coming. All the pressure is coming from below, from the states level.
Yes, from the state level. Yes, and
it's basically essentially it will be the same thing.
Yes,
because
it will be the same thing because money will flow. Money does not matter who gave you, whether it's because of center or state. So this is what I used to say in class that state governments can never print money. Now
apparently
wrong.
they can.
They can because see all that it requires. And again for your viewers, if RBI finances anybody's borrowing, that is printing money. As simple as that. It is done in an electronic manner. It need not be done in, it is done by crediting their accounts in RBI account. It's called reserve account. But that's all it is because it will go to their bank account and then they can start spending.
I mean, for them, it's, kind of free money. It's coming out of like nowhere for them.
But I have to point out why it has created another risk. This is another risk that is created. We kept our interest rate low. Now, rest of the world interest rate started going up. Obviously, currency will come under pressure. When you keep your real interest rate low, and if other countries are giving you higher interest rate, which are less risky and stable, and money started moving out of India. Now that has reduced value of the rupee. Now we are taking another risk.
Okay, wait.
Yeah.
So the first mistake we have kind of elaborated on.
Yes.
What RBI did last year, this extra money printing of 7 lakh crores,
yes,
which will reflect
and kept
2-3 years down
lower.
the line.
Yes,
it is basically a ticking time bomb, but it is also linked to the higher there's a weakening of rupee.
Yes,
because rupee is at the danger of crossing 100.
Yes,
and the government clearly does not want that.
First of all, I don't see 100 as a big deal, to be
because
honest.
It is not.
It is not
what
a
is
big
the
deal.
difference between 96 and 100?
96 but psychologically I get it. It will become highlight. People will show videos of BJP leaders in 2013 saying it will cross somebody's age and all that. All that will be, I understand. Politically it may be, but to prevent this, we have done another mistake. So I have to give you 2013 parallel. In 2013, rupee was collapsing. From 40, 44, we went to 63 in no time, in 1 year. And that time, the genius that we did was we told NRIs that bring in money, we'll give you higher interest rate, and we'll give you guaranteed exchange rate. See, otherwise think about it. Interest rates in India is higher than interest rate in the US. The only reason money doesn't flood into India is that rupee depreciates to that extent and there is no free money. If you bring in $1 from the US, let's say it becomes 100, you make 5%. Let's say interest rate in the US is 4.5, 4.7 now, 10 year, and in India is 6.8. Why doesn't everybody bring money to India? You should borrow in the US and bring it to India. Why don't they do it? because the extra differential reflects inflation differential. And to that extent, Indian rupee is expected to depreciate. So when you take back, you will have only same amount of dollars because the whatever interest rate that you gain, that 2%, you will lose on the currency. Currency will depreciate, you get less dollars. This is why money doesn't flood into India or any country where interest rates are higher. Otherwise, any country with high interest rates should attract unlimited amount of money. Currency will depreciate and offset the whole thing. This is called covered, uncovered interest rate parity. That's a term, right? Now what RBI did in 2013, it's not a new thing, we should not blame the current RBI. 2013, and our situation was really bad that time. I sympathize why they had to do it. They said, you bring in money, I will guarantee you exchange rate. If I guarantee you exit exchange rate, then this 2% extra you are making becomes free money. Do you see that? So if you can borrow at 4.5% from elsewhere, come into India, convert it into rupees, make 6.5%, exit at the same exchange rate that you entered.
No depreciation.
No depreciation at all.
Okay.
No depreciation at all.
And
then
that extra money,
yes,
real cost,
will be borne by the RBI.
But why are they doing it?
They did it. See, I'll tell you. This is risk, right? The hope is, what if rupee does not depreciate? Then there is no cost. In next 2-3 years, rupee remains where it is. What is the cost? This is risk, right? When you take risk, you do all these calculations, right? So I'll give you the 2013 story. We got.
But hang on, sir. Just one big. Isn't it self-fulfilling kind of prophecy? Because then the whole focus of the government of the RBI will be on, ensuring that rupee does not depreciate.
Yes, but then how do you do it?
Then it will be much more damaging.
Yes, you'll have to increase interest rate. One way you have to do it today, what you have postponed, you may have to do it even more.
Yeah.
Let me complete the 2013 story. So we got 20 billion. We got $20 billion. And that time our forex reserve was like $260 billion, 2025 from NRIs. And that stabilized the rupee. From it remained at 66, 67. Fortunately, after 2-3 years also, rupee did not depreciate. And RBI did not lose anything. And we paid that 20-25 billion and it did not become a news. Now that was really bad situation. Like in 1991, we pledged gold. But right now there was no need to do that. We have $650 billion of forex reserves. $650 billion. But we did the same emergency step this time also.
Why?
I don't know. So
now we are again promising NRIs to bring more money into the system.
You know how much they have already brought in? $45 billion.
45
And
billion.
it's likely to be $80 billion. But the scheme is on till September. If you have an NRI uncle, you should tell them to bring money to India. It won't be productive at all. It's not coming to equities or anything. So
where is it going?
It's coming to banks. Of course, it will lead to lending and all in India. It will add to forex reserves of RBI. But $80 billion, is likely to come. SBI raised a recent report. 40 has already come. Now, this $80 billion will come with a guarantee that RBI will guarantee them an exchange rate. In fact, they have given some guarantee to borrowings also. That if you add that will be with the 1.5% depreciation. Totally some $100 billion will come into India. So $100 billion will come. What kind of money? This is coming only for arbitrage. It is not to finance your, factories or anything. It's not a FDI. This is those people. And the worst part, you will be surprised to know. Those people borrow and send it here. It is not your savings. Let's say you have an account. I'll give you an example. You have an account in HSBC and you have $100,000.
Say I am living in Dubai.
Dubai. They will give you 20 times of that loan. 20 times of that. And at whatever 4-5%, you borrow, bring it here and invest here. Invest here in debt, not in equity. Buy some government bond. You make 6.8%. Now, usually what should happen? Rupee should depreciate to the extent of differential and you make no money. That is why you don't do it. Now, RBI said rupee will not depreciate. Even if it depreciates, they are going to guarantee you whatever 96 or whatever you commit. Technically, it's called a swap. Let's not get into that. Now, you will do it. Now, the problem is, after some time, all the 100 billion is going to go back. That is why you did it. Imagine at that time, interest rate in the US is 5% or 5.5%. All of this money will go back. Then what will you do? You will create a crisis at that time. The market exchange rate, there was no need to do this. There was absolutely no need to take such a measure.
They could have just increased interest rates.
Yes, by 50 basis point. That would have done, or cut capital gain tax. We need FDI. Aryanji, we have to do a diagnosis. The problem right now is we don't have export-import problem. Even the PM spoke about gold. Gold is not our problem. People who already invested in India are pulling out. That is the problem. Even
why that is happening?
Many reasons. So one is the AI thing. It's beyond our control. Of course, you could have said we could have invested in AI. All the money is going to Korea and all those places. People find that more attractive than India. So FIs have pulled out like some $16 billion last year. The other, even the FDI, long-term players like Samsung, Maruti, instead of reinvesting in India, they have taken their money out. So we got $98 billion of FDI last year. 91 billion went back.
So basically,
effectively $6-7 billion. We need at least $50 to $100 billion of net FDI if you want to grow at 8-10%. We need $100 billion. We got $8 billion. That is the problem. It is not export-import. We are doing really well on exports. After a long time, our service export is now, last year, we are almost touching $900 billion. Last year we did $440 billion of goods, $420 billion of services, almost $900 billion of exports. We may be doing $1 trillion this year. We're doing really well on exports. Our current account, there is no deficit. Our current account is balanced. We don't have, that means it is not that we are importing more than we are exporting. That is not true. The problem is investments. So we have to address that issue. Instead of addressing that, what we have now done is borrow even more. In fact, one of the good things about India, Aryanji, was we have not borrowed, we are not levered as much. Why Pakistan, Bangladesh, Sri Lanka got into trouble? They have borrowed till neck. One of the best things about India, what India has done recently, our forex reserve till about a month ago was around 700 billion. Our total external debt, including by private people, is $750 billion. That means 90% of our external debt we have forex reserve. You know how much it was in 91? 7%. How much it was in 2014? Some 40%. 40-50%. Now it is 90%. Now what we are doing, we are diluting exactly same thing. All this money which is coming is borrowing. And we are going to mess up with that ratio. And then when it leaves, and this is all hot money. This is not a long-term money. This is not money which is coming to your factories, which will create jobs and all that. This is all hot money coming into bonds, to government bonds, to finance the same freebies. And when this leaves, it wouldn't have created productive assets. It will create more.
But how is it like to finance freebies?
They want to buy government bonds.
Okay.
So they'll give it to banks, which will buy government bonds, which will keep interest rates lower. And you can borrow even more. See, one check, always remember, bond market is a very big check on politicians. Bond market investors are very, very careful. And bond market keeps a tight check on government. When you overspend, interest rates go up. Now, if you do all these artificial things, they exempted capital gains on inflows on government bonds. We need capital gain exemption on investments on factories, jobs and all that, not on government bonds. Recently one of the measures taken, FDI, money coming from abroad, if you FIIs investing in government bonds, if they make capital gains, that is exempt. We need exemption for FDI, direct investment into companies, productive assets and all that. So now this bond market, the interest rate will not go up. If interest rate doesn't go up, you keep borrowing. That is the problem. I think what we have done is by taking risk, the way we are addressing the problem now, both on the last year money printing and on the rupee, is adding risk which will show up later. Today it won't show up.
Okay. Later, how much late it will show up?
This will be 1 or 2 years. So
wouldn't that be closer to election? So why is the government not seeing that?
I don't know why they're seeing. How do I know? How do I know that? Why did earlier governments not see it? I don't know why they not see it. I don't know.
I would understand if you do it in say 28. 29, right?
I understand.
Because then you can say कि ये 2-3 साल बाद हमको दिखेगा 2031 में, उसके बाद हम थोड़ा कंट्रोल कर लेंगे अगले इलेक्शन तक. Then that I can understand. But doing it now when you are saying there is no need to do that.
Exactly. I'll give you some data and you can push back. See, our exports, goods export, was stagnant for almost 3 years. After COVID. After COVID, we got a jump. We used to do like $330 billion for a long time. From there, we took a jump to $440 billion and we were there about. This year, our goods export for the first time is growing double digits in the last 3 months. We are doing per month, average is around $40 to $43 billion. If we continue this, we'll touch 500 billion. Goods. Services is growing like crazy. We used to do like $140 billion. Now we do $420 billion of services. I'm saying this rupee is actually helping you. This exports will create jobs. I'm saying forget about what measure to take. Why to take any measure?
When it is helping you.
There are costs, I understand.
So basically we are getting screwed everywhere in this process.
Exactly, they should have I understand. Suddenly, let's say from 95, it goes to 105 tomorrow morning. That will create problems. The biggest problems will be those who are borrowed from abroad. Because they will have to pay a lot more.
Yeah.
I understand you should smoothen that volatility. We should depreciate to the extent of inflation and slightly more. This is what countries have done all throughout. Countries that have grown at 8-10%, none of them had a strong currency. All of them, your viewers should read about Plaza Accord. I'll just give you a small, 1985. You know how much was yen? 260. 260 to the dollar. Today, 160 were crying. It was 260 to the dollar. The whole fight, every country wanted its currency to depreciate. US said, I want my currency to go down. My currency is very high. So then US called Japan, Germany, all those countries, UK, West Germany, Japan, UK and Canada, I think. They sat together in New York, in that Plaza Hotel. That's called Plaza Accord. And they decided to depreciate the dollar by 30%. And that's how yen came to 150 from 250. And then Japan has never recovered. After that, this whole idea that somehow, I understand currency should not collapse. It should not. Iran, for instance, now, $1 is 1.9 million lira. That will lead to end of the world. That will create inflation. But this 5%, 10% movement here and there is not the end of the world. We go to, I think we'll be better off at 102 than at 82. Tomorrow we go to 82, I'll tell you there will be unemployment.
That's right.
Yes, because a lot of these people who are dependent on exports, how will Indian goods will become expensive?
Weak currency is kind of weak economy and strong rupee is strong economy. Who gave this concept?
It is not totally wrong in the sense within limits. I have to be very careful. Can I explain the idea of real exchange rate to your viewers?
Yes.
It's a bit, it's not very hard, but let me explain.
But you are a professor.
Yeah, let me make an attempt. Okay. Imagine a world where all that we eat is dosas, right? A dosa costs 50 rupees in India and $1 in the US, just for argument's sake. Assume the exchange rate is 100. All that your viewers have to remember is 3 numbers. Dosa costs 50 rupees in India, $1 in the US. What's the exchange rate? 100. Which means if you take an Indian dosa and go to US and exchange, how many dosas you will get, right? You will get only half. So in India, for 100 rupees, you can get two dosas. And there you get 1 dosa. This ratio is called real exchange rate. This is called real exchange rate. This has nothing to do with prices. Even if all the quality is same. See, in my theoretical world, I can make quality same. I can make environment same, everything same in the theoretical world. Practically, it won't be. Now, the problem is that transportation is not free. Why will it remain this? Why? Ideally, in an exact theoretical world, this ratio should always be 1. Because why will anyone have dosa in the US? In a theoretical world where quality is the same, where you can freely move around, nobody will eat dosa in the US. Everyone will, and dosa is the only thing matters. Think about this as a representative good or service. It should not be taken literally. In an ideal world, everyone should eat in India. And the price of dosa in India should rise to 100 rupees and real exchange rate should become 1. Right? World is not ideal. There are restrictions on movement, quality differs, the income of people in the US is more, income of people in India is lower, dentist may be better in India, but he cannot charge as much as in the US.
The person who is making dosa has
so many things happen.
More salary there than in India.
Yes. So that's why ratio is never 1. So it will settle at some ratio. So let's say it settles at half, right? And all those factors are taken together, now it settles at half. Now, real exchange rate is half, let's say. Now, if Indian dosa becomes 10% more expensive, then the only way real exchange rate will remain half is by rupee should depreciate by 10%. Right? If let's say US there is 0 inflation, India we have 10% inflation. If rupee does not depreciate by 10%, Indian dosa now becomes expensive.
Yeah.
Nobody will buy. See, imagine 1:1 is not the good ratio. Let's say 1:half is a good ratio. If Indian dosa becomes cheaper than half, people will buy from India.
They will buy more.
They'll buy more. If it is more than half, they won't buy more. Because although US is costly, but there are so many good things.
To keep it competitive, you have to let the currency
depreciate to the extent of inflation.
Yeah.
This is the difference between nominal depreciation and real depreciation. So if you have high inflation, your currency will depreciate. There is nothing, it's not anything wrong with that. It's like your age. Every day it will be an all-time high. There is nothing, the saying that it has reached a new level and all that, there's nothing. So to that extent, it should depreciate. Now the question is, what was happening in India? In 22-23, by keeping our interest rates very high, we appreciated our currency. People missed this point. When our rupee was 82, you remember, this you will remember, 22 to 25, rupee was slowly depreciating. 82, 83, 84, it was moving around that range. It should have depreciated even more. So our real exchange rate, and another problem, this also I have to point out to your viewers. We are obsessed with the dollar. It is not the only currency where we trade. The real thing, if your viewers go to RBI, there is something called nominal effective exchange rate and real effective exchange rate. This is an average against all the currencies we trade. That is what matters. US is not the only country that we trade with. So that number in 24, you will not believe, it went to 108, which means our currency appreciated by 8%. Our dosa became more expensive. That is why export was stagnant. On the one hand, we say Atmanirbharta. When our currency appreciate, import become cheaper. Other currencies, people will start importing dosa. Right? That is our current account was not in good shape. Now what has happened is, the reason why it looks like very bad, that got corrected. And we have depreciated even more. So now we have a 8%, 9% real exchange rate depreciation. We are at 91 compared to 2016 is taken as the base. Now this happened because of RBI's lower exchange rate and all that. Now the question is, do you want to fight it? If you fight it, in my view, need not. Not through these methods. By making people borrow and get money, even if you want to fight it, taking risk and all. So what it is already leading to, our last 3 months, our exports have gone up. Export means jobs. This is what I point out. This is very important. Let's say you start doing podcasts in the US. You start developing US customers. You will learn, Arihanji. You will not only learn, you will learn a lot of new things, new skills, way to manage those customers. And now your competitors in India will also learn from you. That is the benefit of exports. Our people, if they compete abroad, our big problem is we are unable to compete abroad and win. Export has that extra benefit. Of course, imports will be expensive.
In the long term, you're actually the goal of becoming the world's factory.
Exactly,
will be a competent one. Actually.
Exactly, we'll become with based on competence. So that is how Japan grew. There are not too many examples. We talk about 8-10% as if every country has. No, there are only 5-6 examples of countries that have grown at 8-10%. There are only 5, not even 6. Taiwan, China, Japan, Korea, West Germany. West Germany and Japan is post-war reconstruction. So then you have Taiwan, Korea and China. And Taiwan and Korea are small. Then the only comparison we have is China. And their currency did not appreciate. Their biggest complaint of the US is they are currency manipulators. They kept their currency low. So what your viewers have to really, if you have to see, you should see at real exchange rate. Now there is a question, to be fair, you may ask, maybe real exchange rate is depreciating because our dosa has become less tasty. What if our dosa making, we have lost dosa making skills? Let's say AI. We are bad in AI and this is a permanent adjustment. It's not a temporary adjustment. From half to 0.4 if it is happening. Let's say if it's a quality is bad, then there won't be any exports. The test of that is whether exports are responding. And they are responding. If the quality was bad, export wouldn't have responded. All the times 3 months is a too short a time to make a very strong claim. I would have seen another 3 months. Let's see what's going on.
So what you are saying is basically this 3 months ka data we have despite all these things.
Yes.
But if by this logic, if we had allowed it to depreciate further and not kept it like this with all these artificial measures, then exports would have been higher.
It won't depreciate beyond a point because once export goes up...
I'm saying currently with all these measures...
Yes, exactly.
Exports should have been would have been higher, right?
Exactly. But then what will happen is, Once exports become higher, because our current account becomes surplus, more money will come. That itself will stabilize the rupee.
Yeah.
On its own. See, this whole thing that we will go to 200 is so wrong.
But this sounds like very normal economics. So
Yes.
why the people in the government are not getting it?
Because of this 100. This 100 thing.
This fear of getting...
I think 100 will make a lot of headlines. I don't see any... because they let it... See, to its credit, although I am not a big supporter of that keeping low interest rate, because that will create inflation. But the fact that they did not waste forex reserves to fight the rupee, they could have used forex reserves. They had 700 billion and kept the rupee tight until this bad policy came in. I really appreciate that. This was a good thing to do. But the moment it touched 97, 96.8, they now come out with this emergency measure. There was absolutely no emergency. Now the question is, do you want a lot of volatility in the rupee to continue? See, I'll tell you, having said all of that, volatility is not good. Smooth 2% depreciation every year is different. One morning it's 96, next day it's 102, tomorrow it's 98. Importers will not be able to do any planning, and people who have borrowed money are...
No, so volatility you can control, right?
Exactly. So you need measures to prevent volatility, and that is why you have forex reserves. You have forex reserve to prevent volatility. Having said that, even if you want to prevent outflow of money, let's say what if it becomes 130 tomorrow? I wouldn't support that. 130, then it will need to run on the currency. There are measures you can do it. One, this 50 basis point or the interest rate that you kept lower, you can hike that interest rate, or reduce capital gain tax.
How big a factor that is?
It's a very big factor. For FDI or money that's coming in long-term capital gain, we have kept... See, you have to go back. This is where we don't behave like Indian state. When we imposed capital security transaction tax, it was a different government. I get it. The promise was of the Indian state. We removed capital gain tax. We said we want long-term money. So therefore, we are removing long-term capital gain tax, but we don't want this trading every day. That is why we are imposing security transaction tax. Security transaction tax is on trading transactions, not on your profits. So we want to encourage. But then in the back door, we introduced capital gain tax. And we've successively every year increased it. Now we need capital for growth. And we are taxing the most important thing that we need. And the argument we make is, no, domestic also pays. Fair enough, then they will not come. Other countries are not growing at 8%. We want to grow at 8%. They don't want to be Vishwaguru.
So didn't people in the government know that if you impose so much tax, these people will take out their money? They thought that India is the only destination.
Yeah, that time it was like that. So 1 or 2 years, when we start doing well, we develop this overconfidence that you don't have a choice. कहाँ
जाओगे? हमारा ही विश्वगुरु वाला तो बोलते रहे हो, but you buy into your own narrative.
Yes. Because we thought rest of the world is dead. Now Korea is, Korea for instance, you should know this, your viewers. Country of 5 crore people, their exports, forget about markets. Markets keeps going up and down. Their export per month is more than double of ours, $100 billion. We do $45 billion of goods, right? It's 5 crore people. We are 140 crore people. Just think about per capita or anything, right? So that's what we did. So taxing, see, for growth, think about it. Going back to Econ 101, there are only 2 ways you can grow. Either you become more innovative or you invest. Where do you invest from? Savings inside or savings outside? Savings inside is going down. It's a secular phenomenon. You can't do anything. People's habits you cannot change. That also we have discouraged, Aryanji. Do you know? There used to be ATC, there used to be housing.
Yes, now under new regime, you don't need to do anything. Till 12 lakhs free.
Domestic savings also we have discouraged.
Yeah.
Foreign savings also you discourage. Then how will you have capital formation? Now for capital formation, now we are giving exchange guarantee. We are giving free insurance and telling people, तुम अगर आपके पास 1 लाख हो तो 20 लाख borrow करके यहाँ लेके आओ, you gamble. The guy is borrowing 20 times of his net worth and putting money because the government, the RBI is guaranteeing. I don't understand that.
For example, that would cost us $20 to $25 billion.
I don't know. That depends
Maybe.
on what will be the exchange
time,
rate.
What did it cost?
It didn't cost anything. You know why? Exchange rate did not depreciate. New government came in, macro stabilized, inflation went down because inflation used to be very high. Crude oil also collapsed. Exactly at that time. So this is the problem. When you take risk, right? People who take risk, if they don't fail the first time, they think that there is no risk. Risk is on the long run. When I say something is risky,
but now, for example, at that time, world was different.
Yes.
This time, you see so much volatility, so many wars going on, and you never know. Like 2 years down the line, it might be worse than what it is today.
See, suppose we get 100 billion now under this guarantee. Suppose rupee depreciates 10-15%, of that, and then this 100 billion will go. And then we give this guarantee 15-20%, whatever, another 20 billion, 120 billion will go. And that time, that outflow of 120 billion, remember, this year's outflow was 16 billion. I have to remind your viewers, net outflow from FIIs is $16 billion only. FDI net inflow of 6 billion. Despite that, so much depreciation happened. What if 100 billion goes? And this will go because they have borrowed and come.
Do you know what is worse? People like me and middle class people, they put so much faith in this mutual fund business for so many years. That was ELSS exemption was there till 1.5 lakh rupees. Everybody, just kept putting that much money in, kept saving, kept investing, and now they are taking it out, they are getting taxed.
Yes. So,
because at that time there was no tax. It was all tax free.
Exempt tax.
It's kind of retrospective taxation in a sense, because people put money 10 years back. Now they are getting, having to pay taxes. But when they put that money in that, keeping the faith in the state, that,
that our state does. Gold, you remember?
Yeah,
there was a soaring gold bond scheme where they said only if you had bought directly from the government, it is exempt. Secondary market is taxable. We didn't know that time. So these things that they do. But in this case, the promise is to foreigners and the foreign money. You can't default. You default, then your credit rating, it will have a big impact. So the point I'm trying to make is, first of all, there is no need to worry about the rupee that much. If it goes to, maybe it goes to 110, 120, that time we'll see. If it 102, 103 is not a big deal, even if it goes. And it can't go because exports are responding. Once exports start responding, money will come. That means export is dollar coming. Then the rupee price will stabilize on its own. You don't have to do anything at some point. There is a difference between 2013 and now. 2013, what your viewers should understand, our forex reserves had fallen to $250 billion. And we had a massive current account deficit, 5% of GDP. Today, last quarter was current account surplus. Our exports, one of the big thing that is saving us, remittances. Again, there is a confusion here. There is a difference between NRI deposits and NRI remittance. NRI remittance is an NRI giving money to his parents here. That is remittance. It is a one-way street. NRI deposit is like we are borrowing from them. What we are encouraging is NRI deposits.
And we are not borrowing from them directly, basically. They are taking money. They are borrowing from their own countries. And then they are putting it as an investment.
Worst case, your viewers will not believe this if I say that. Some of them, you will believe it. They are borrowing from Gift City branch of Indian banks. Because Gift City is considered a foreign. They are borrowing from SBI Gift City branch and then putting money back into India. Scam. And that is our total money in the forex reserve will not go up because Gift City is considered abroad and they are borrowing from there. And why was this, see, if you there are two choices. Either you increase your interest rate. If you don't want rupee to fall, increase your interest rate, suffer some growth issues, and then it's fine. If you want to keep your interest rate low, and if you still don't want rupee to fall, which I don't think is the right thing. Suppose you don't want rupee to fall, some reason. There are other options. Again, as I told you, exempt capital gains, money will come. Or your export itself will take care. It's already picking up. Instead, what we have chosen is the method which was adopted in 2013 when we were in really bad shape. Today, we are not in such bad shape. By doing this, I fear we will be in bad shape 2-3 years from now.
But don't you think that the government is doing all this, keeping interest rates low, just to keep the growth numbers up? For example, if...
Government is not doing, interest rate is RBI.
I mean...
It's autonomous.
If we don't want to be honest, RBI is really independent, then it's okay.
I should tell you, under Shaktikant Das, our claim was they were too independent. They had kept...
claim can be different. But the guy, he has been picked by the Prime Minister to be his personal secretary. That is like the most powerful position after Modi, basically.
That
His
I don't
deputy
know.
prime
No,
minister.
that is true. But he kept real rates so high, it hurt the economy. See, the RBI governor's independence test is simple.
We should
Are
not.
you willing to take interest rates high? That's a simple test.
Yeah.
A test of no finance minister likes high interest rates. If any RBI governor who is willing to take interest rates high and keep it very high, good or bad, you have to vouch for that person's independence. So people who keep interest rates low is where the question comes. So I did not support that policy, but then it shows independence. That you should appreciate, right or wrong?
No, maybe he convinced the government that this is a good thing.
I don't know. That you people will know.
Because finance minister, let's be real, she does not have that kind of independence that, for example, Chidambaram had during his,
how
tenure.
do you know all of this?
Come on, sir.
Yeah, I understand.
Come on.
I understand, but then, right? Maybe it could be consequential. It could be two mistakes crossing one, but he kept interest rates very high.
Yeah.
That is true. Extremely high.
First, he damaged the growth story, and now when we need to keep the interest rates high, they are keeping it low.
We have to keep normal. See, there is a very simple this idea of natural rate of it's called natural rate of unemployment and neutral rate. It's a conceptual thing. Neutral rate is a concept, but then around 1.5-2%. Our real rate. That means if you have a inflation of 4%, around 6% is the ideal interest rate to have. That's what we should keep. Okay. Right now we have inflation going up. I think we'll be already at 4.5. Will be 5-6%, and our interest rate is 5.25%. And we will be going at negative interest rate. When you have negative interest rate, nobody, we are missing out this long-term part. If you have negative interest rate, people will not save. Why did our savings fall? This is another thing. You asked me this question, right? Why doesn't government think this way? I have no idea. You just have to, these days, just go to any, if people in the government listen to what we say, I don't know. You just go to ChatGPT, very simple, or in Claude. Just plot this real rate and savings rate. Inflation minus interest rate minus inflation and savings rate. You can see it. You don't need to run any test. As in 2008, 9, 11, 12, we had negative real rate. Our savings collapsed from 38-39% to 30%. Because if I give you less than inflation, why will you save? You're better off eating it today. By saving, you will get less. Giving you less than inflation means. Yeah. By saving, you will get less rise next year than having more today. Why you do that? So long term, we need savings. So we are hurting domestic savings. We are hurting in the sense we are still doing 7%, which is very good. But to go to that 8, see, our goal is always, you have to remember, our goal is 8-9%. We want to be whatever 30 trillion in 2047. Either we need domestic savings or we need foreign savings. What we don't need is somebody borrowing from Gift City and under exchange rate guarantee, bringing in $100 billion, making that free money and taking it away after 2 years. It is not going to help. That is the problem.
And there is no upside for us in that.
Immediate stability is the upside.
I mean, but if that stability did not exist, we could have gained in terms
more
of
exports and
all these things.
The worst part, Aryanji, is that many of your viewers, I guess, will be IT employees. They will give you gali for this, to me and you. They are the biggest beneficiaries, for God's sake.
Yeah.
In this AI world, the only thing that can help you, if you become cheaper. How do you become cheaper?
That is actually what is happening.
Yes.
The cost of all these servers and data centers, that is much higher compared to hiring people.
Yes. If Rupee tomorrow goes to 80, none of these people will be very expensive.
Yeah.
We want to attract investment for data centers. And we have become cheaper now. We are 8-9% cheaper than where we were in 2016. When it has happened on its own, let it be. Let's not allow it to collapse. And that is why we have $700 billion Forex reserves. When it collapses, we'll bring in. But this is not a collapse. 97 or 100 is not a
whatever
collapse.
You are telling me, like
right.
Every time it happens, it all seems very common sense to me.
Yeah.
But I don't know what
I'll tell you some.
Let's
play devil's advocate. There are some issues, right? Urea import. We are critically dependent on urea, right? If Rupee depreciates, our urea bill is going to go up. So our forex reserves will go down. Now this is a serious problem. Same with oil. If this price goes up, our oil bill will increase. What is the solution? two solutions. One, then we come back to our original solution, that government don't spend that much. You're doing 12 lakh crores on your airport. Yesterday again, Andhra Pradesh, one 5,000 crore airport was inaugurated. I can bet there after 3 years there will be 2 flights moving around.
There was this story just recently came out that Khajuraho airport, I think, or some airport in Madhya Pradesh, they inaugurated, and it was awarded the best airport in the world or in India, and there are no flights there.
Exactly, there are so many. I can give you go on. So the solution to that is reduce government expenditure. If you reduce government expenditure, your deficits will go down, interest rate will go down, the amount you have to spend will go down, and things will stabilize. See, capex is very important, but we are going in an imbalanced manner. We are doing too much of it, right? And in places where it is not required. So I agree, urea and oil will be a cost. Again, on oil also, people have to know, we become emotional with oil. Our total oil import bill is $170 billion. We export $50 billion of oil. So total is $120 billion. Our total import is 1 trillion, almost. It's around 10% of it. So it is not that world is going to come to an end if oil price goes up by another 10%. We have the cushion. So in fact, neither gold nor oil have gone to the extent of completely destabilizing our situation.
Yes.
The main reason is FI outflows, foreign institutional investors outflow of $16 billion and lack of FDI. These are two reasons. We don't have a current account problem, Aryanji. We have a capital account problem. Investment problem. Investment somehow, and there also, it's not completely our fault. India is not seen as a AI hot. Suppose AI thing is a bubble, then we are doing a right thing by not attracting that capital. So there is that portion also, and there is also our portion where we are not making business easy, where we are imposing very high taxes, where these are issues that we have to settle. And I think attract more investment. And there also again, first 3 months, our total FDI is already $7 billion net. The entire year, last year, what we have done, we have already done in 3 months. So things are looking, the thing is, Aryanji, we took the cost of higher rupee, petrol price, because these are immediate. Benefits had just started showing. And at the right time when the benefits started showing, we have closed the tab and we are doing this.
Yeah.
Why? And this will cost us 2 years later. Take any serious economist will always say that, you take Arvind Panagaria, you take Geeta Gopinath, all of them are on record saying don't make 100 your target. 100 is not, and unfortunately, despite all of that, they did do that. Because at 97 is where they intervened with this kind of a measure. And there also they could have intervened with Forex. Suppose they had spent some 50 billion Forex reserve. That I would have still appreciated because that doesn't create risk. Here what we have done,
just to hide what they are doing.
We are getting $100 billion of hot money, leveraged money.
Yeah.
Instead of getting FDI, we are getting somebody who has borrowed 20 times of his net worth to exploit this 2%. We are getting that. 60, 70, 80 billion dollars. And we are celebrating.
But don't you think that all this capital gains tax, whatever we are basically gaining as a tax, we have created huge mess and we have actually lost more than what we have gained?
Because I'll tell you the side effect of this. Railways used to raise money from the market earlier. Now because we have sufficient money in the budget, they are mostly funded by the budget. So there is a Indian Railway IRFC, Indian Railway Finance Corporation. They have no job to do because railway does not need their money. But there you have jobs to protect. They are now starting lending, raising money and lending to all kinds of random places where they have no idea about. The side effects of all of this, right? The problem is this will all show up. Later you will not be able to pinpoint iske wajah se hua and all that. But
But our podcast will always be a good place where we have documented all this.
Yeah.
So if anyone wants to, 3 years down the line, if some bad things happen, they can always come back here and say that these guys won't and these guys were ignored.
Yeah. So the point is, again, your viewers should not take a view that we are not talking about a situation where we are going to collapse or something. Always remember,
of course not. But
the situation is, are we going to hit 30 trillion or not? And
yeah.
we haven't hit 5 trillion. I was talking to someone.
There's so much promise was made in 2022. I think in 2015, the Prime Minister promised, I think, that we will be 5 trillion by 2022. In 2020...
24, I think.
No, 2022.
Are you sure?
75 years of independence.
That was doubling farmers' income.
Oh, that was also there.
I don't think it was...
good that you reminded another promise that was not fulfilled. But
nominally, yes, they are one closer. Nominally, not in real terms.
So
with inflation.
So let's not
fair
get into
enough.
all those defenses. People in 2021, 2022, they were saying after COVID,
right?
They were saying by 2025 we will definitely hit 5 trillion.
Yeah, of course. That's, we were discussing the same thing. You need investment. You need, you remember one episode we did the calculation. We said to reach there, you need to get $150 billion of FDI.
Yes.
And that year the net FDI was 1 billion. So how are you going to do it? We did this math. Your viewers can go and see it. The same thing remains. So 7% are we going to do sustainably? If you ask me, where are we going? I think 6-7% on for a long period of time. I think we are good because our savings rate is 30% and we are learning. Skyroot, we should not remember finally we are doing something. Some technology improvement and the good thing is those people are pushing our people out also. That's another positive thing. And because of all of this, I think 6-7% we'll be able to do. Are we going to hit double-digit growth? 10% like 20-30 years like China did and become very different? That looks difficult under these circumstances, and it's not impossible. But
for that you have to
some long-term thing we have to look at. We should not do all this
thing that you said.
Yes,
this will all come from innovation.
Yes, innovation, and get all the get scientists and things like that. Those are things that we have to worry about. We should not do these small things like getting 100 billion on this emergency thing. Emergency, it's for really emergency. You waste emergency during good times. When emergency actually comes, that won't be available.
Yes,
this is what we miss. Tomorrow something I'm not, as a citizen of the country, we don't want things to go bad. But tomorrow something goes back 3 years from now. At that time, if this situation was what you have to do, you will not have this toolkit. See, what was our claim to fame during COVID? Every government advisor comes and says, we did not print money. We did not do bad things. I appreciate the finance minister. There, although I think they should have done, because there's a lot of distress on the street. That was our claim. Now there is nothing like that. Why are we doing this? Why did we print 7 lakh crores?
Just to that,
which we did not print during COVID.
That prestigious 100 rupees का वो protect करने के लिए.
Yeah, we did not print 7 lakh crore during COVID.
Yeah.
There was some sense to doing it at that
So
time.
ये दो बड़े मुझे लगता है कि टाइम बॉम्ब है. एक तो ये जो 7 लाख करोड़ का जो हो सकता है कि हर साल रेप्लिकेट करेंगे.
Right.
जो ये
हर साल इतना नहीं होगा.
नहीं होगा, 2 लाख 3 लाख करोड़ हो जाएगा. बट वी हैव टू रिमेम्बर कि ये 30-40 हजार करोड़ होता था पहले
एग्जैक्टली
नॉर्मल टाइम्स में. सो ये कितना भी आप 1 लाख भी करोगे तो भी बहुत ज्यादा ही है. तो दिस इज अ बिग डेंजर जो ये फ्रीबीज से आ रहा है. एंड सेकंड, दिस आर्टिफिशियली प्रॉपिंग अप ऑफ रुपी, इसको स्ट्रेंथन करने के लिए थ्रू दिस इनडायरेक्ट मेथड्स जो कि ज्यादा डैमेज करेंगे
लॉन्ग रन में.
और आप अच्छे काम से भी कर सकते हो.
आप उसको
स्टेबलाइज कर सकते हो. कैपिटल गेन टैक्स हटा दो,
इंटरेस्ट रेट बढ़ाओ,
ये बढ़ाओ, तो ये हो सकता है. एंड इट विल एक्चुअली हेल्प द ग्रोथ ऑल्सो. अगर एक्सपोर्ट्स बढ़ेंगे तो ग्रोथ भी तो इंप्रूव होगा.
कैपिटल गेन टैक्स में कॉस्ट भी नहीं है RNC. बिकॉज अगर एक चीज तो फाइनेंस मिनिस्टर शी विल नॉट इंक्रीज डेफिसिट्स. तो अगर उनका टैक्स कलेक्शन कम हुआ तो शी विल रिड्यूस वेस्टफुल एक्सपेंडिचर. तो उससे कोई कॉस्ट नहीं है इकोनॉमी का. देयर इज नो कॉस्ट. कट कैपिटल गेन टैक्स and rupee will stabilize, or even otherwise it will stabilize. I'm telling you, exports have already started increasing. It's only a matter of time. It wouldn't go to 120-130.
बट अगर ऐसे ही चलता रहा तो फिर एक्सपोर्ट्स भी एक टाइम आएगा जो कम होने लगेंगे.
अगर आप 90 पे लेके जाएंगे तो अभी हमारा रियल एक्सचेंज रेट इज 8% डाउन, विच मीन्स इंडियन गुड्स are 8% cheaper than our competitors, not just US, our trading partners. We are 8% cheaper. Now, after some time, it won't be cheaper. If it is not cheaper, we'll be back. So that is why double-digit growth हो रहा है export का. So export means employment. Export means learning. More than employment, learning, because you have to win in a foreign market. When you sell products abroad, you learn new technologies and then you come here and propagate here. That's how countries have grown.
ये जो टाइम बॉम्ब है दो, आई थिंक ये बहुत ही ज़्यादा इम्पोर्टेंट है इनको रिजॉल्व करना, नहीं तो उनके लिए मुश्किल हो जाएगा.
हाँ, डोमेस्टिक सेविंग्स अगर हम एंकरेज नहीं करेंगे तो FDI के अलावा कोई चारा नहीं है. आइदर एंकरेज डोमेस्टिक सेविंग्स. वी आर डूइंग एग्जैक्टली ऑपोजिट. डोमेस्टिक सेविंग्स के भी एंकरेजमेंट हटा दिया और FDI भी नहीं आ रहा है, तो इंस्टेड हम ये हॉट मनी लेके आ रहे हैं. दिस इज द वर्स्ट थिंग टू डू. टू गेटिंग दिस हॉट मनी विच इज बोरोड मनी, in a time when you have so much forex reserves, I don't understand at all. This is done when you are in bad shape, like 2013, 5% current account deficit, gold, you are importing, you don't know where it is going, and your 50 billion you lost forex
और ये
reserve.
पता नहीं ना ये 2 बम कब फटेंगे, मतलब 2 साल बाद अगर फटा,
हाँ, ये 100 बिलियन वाला तो 2 साल बाद फटेगा,
तो 2028 हो जाएगा.
हाँ, तब
वो इलेक्शन के जस्ट नजदीक
फॉर्चुनेटली ये हो सकता है. इमेजिन ग्लोबल इकोनॉमी ग्रोस दैट टाइम एंड एवरीथिंग इज वेरी सब चंगा सी, आपके
सब चंगा सी तो नहीं होगा.
तब 100 बिलियन विल बी एबल टू, लाइक 15 में हुआ, $20 बिलियन जब गया.
नहीं, वही मैं कह रहा हूँ, वो दुनिया अलग थी सर.
ये अगर हो गया,
मतलब कोविड के बाद वाली दुनिया अलग ही चल रही है. अभी पता ही नहीं चल रहा कितने साल चलेगा.
दिस इज एक्स एंटे, राइट? वी आर सिटिंग टुडे, आई एम टेलिंग यू, ड्राइविंग एट 200 किलोमीटर पर आवर इज रिस्की. इसका मतलब ये नहीं कि
हर बार एक्सीडेंट ही होगा.
ऐसा हो सकता है कि 2 बार नहीं होगा, बट अगर आप यही मेथड करते रहोगे तो रिस्क बढ़ता जाएगा. ये करने की जरूरत नहीं थी. 100 में कोई शर्म नहीं है. 100 इज फाइन. मोर पीपल विल गेट जॉब्स. आपको इफ योर व्यूअर्स आर स्टिल नॉट, आप और भी गाली देंगे, मैं आपको कहता हूँ. आप देखिए केस स्टडी, इंडिया का ही केस स्टडी. 2008 में रुपी वेंट टू 39. तिरुपुर में हाहाकार मच गया. मतलब दैट वाज अ क्राइसिस. Exporters, Tirupur is textile exporters. Some people became jobless. Jobs, the best way of promoting jobs is keep this at 8-10%. Not like Pakistan. I'm not saying it should triple and all that. 10% real depreciation is the best medicine. So I think we should keep it there.
और उस पे ही हम बिना बात में इतना ज़्यादा हाहाकार मचा के सरकार के भी प्रेशर बना दिया. अब उस सरकार प्रेशर में आके ऐसे
RBI ने किया, फिर से मैं बोल रहा हूँ.
दोनों बराबर ही है. दोनों, अब कोई कहता है कि ये अमित शाह ने किया, मोदी तो ऐसा करना नहीं चाहते थे, या मोदी ने किया, अमित शाह ऐसा नहीं करना चाहते थे. दोनों एक ही है. वैसे ही RBI और सरकार भी एक ही है. अनलेस मतलब कोई, वो उस टाइम अलग बात थी जब रघुराम राजन और ये सब लोग थे, बट आजकल तो ये ब्यूरोक्रेट्स सब रन करते हैं.
नहीं, बट हैविंग सेड दैट, आई शुड टेल यू, ब्यूरोक्रेट ओनली टुक इंटरेस्ट रेट वेरी हाई. हमने उनको गाली भी दिया है.
हाँ, जो कि जायज़ था उस टाइम पे, जो आज भी जायज़ है. और फिर से हम उल्टा काम कर रहे हैं. बट लेट्स होप कि कोई जो है सरकार में इन सब चीज़ों पे ध्यान दे, क्योंकि दीज आर वेरी बिग टाइम बॉम्ब्स. और उनकी ही सरकार को सबसे बड़ा खतरा पैदा हो सकता है 2 साल डाउन द लाइन. तो दे शुड पे अटेंशन नाउ. एग्जैक्टली, जब उनके पास समय है.
एग्जैक्टली.
तो थैंक यू सो मच सर. हम फिर बात करेंगे कुछ टाइम बाद. होपफुली थिंग्स विल इम्प्रूव.
Yes.
And we'll keep meeting. Thank you so much.
Thank you.